Hello, this is a follow-up to my last Flowgraph tutorial, which acted as a sort of introduction and crash course. Today I would like to go through my tutorial I made and add some more what I would consider intermediate features and clean it up a little bit. So I'm going to go into my tutorial. Alright, so let's start off by reminding ourselves what we're doing. So I'm going to go to the main game states here. Now these are all the states in my game. I enter the state and then I go to setup scene, which goes into an introduction, goes into gameplay, and then right now I can only win the game, which goes into the win state, which will then, and then I have the option to reset the game or exit the game, and then go back into introduction after I reset the game. Okay, so you'll notice that all my states, I was a bit lazy and whenever I made a new state, I just kept the default success and fail. But the setup state doesn't have a fail state. There's no way to fail a setup. So I'm just going to go here and delete that. Delete. Same with introduction. I don't offer options. Now, gameplay can have a fail state. So I'm going to keep that. And in fact, it can kind of have two fail states. Normally, what most BeamNG missions have is that you can either fail by crashing or fail by having a timeout. But we don't need the reset, so I'm going to delete that. So let's work on the timer. Now, there's a few ways you can do a timer. I'm going to do it the simple way first, and maybe later I'll explain how I did it the complex way. The complex way would be to have a separate timer state. So let's say this state is called timer, and have that run concurrently. So after I press success, you could go into the timer flow here and have the timer working alongside the gameplay. That's something I've done in the past, and I had reasons for doing that, but I think that's going to be a little bit out of scope for now. So let's just put the timer inside gameplay. So I'm going to go inside gameplay. So first thing I'm probably going to need is some sort of timer node. So to start a timer, you're going to just naturally type in the word timer, and you actually get quite a few options. What I personally like is the simple timer. The simple timer kind of does everything for you, except it doesn't display the timer, and I think a lot of people get confused by that. So if I was just to connect this to the flow of my onUpdate, and don't forget when I enter the update state, I'm going to want to reset this timer back to 0. Now, if you play the game, you'll notice nothing changes. If I play a game, press start, nothing changes. Why is that? So I'm going to press stop. Well, there's two things going on. Number one, I need to set the UI timer. Okay. So the UI timer is the little timer you'll see in the top right-hand corner of your BeamNG missions. So if I just say, okay, so I set up the timer and then the flow can go right into the set UI timer. The set UI timer needs a constant flow, I believe. The value for the set UI timer is going to be whatever the elapsed time is. Right now, if I click on the simple time, you'll see that the duration is 5 seconds. I think that's good enough for demoing. The ref is the reference time. Right now it's using the simulated time, which is correct. What the simulation time means is, well, actually, I can demo that later. The duration obviously is 5 seconds. Cap time, that just means do you need to cap the time limit? So after 5 seconds, should it stop or keep going? I want it to stop, so I'm going to say yes. But again, if I press play, start, there's still no timer on my screen. That's because it's using my custom UI layout. You know, in BeamNG you can set your own UI. It's using my UI, which isn't correct. So I'm just going to stop the play. I need to clean up my custom UI layout and use the default scenario layout. So I'm just going to type in layout. There you go. Set UI layout. You could also get a custom UI layout. I'll be honest, I haven't done that before, so I don't know what to do about that. Okay, so the set UI layout really only needs to be done once. So I'm just going to put it into the enter state, I believe. If I click on it, you'll see I have layout here. I'm going to click the little circle. There you go. I want it to be set to scenario, and I'm going to click on keep layout. No, I do not want to keep the current layout of the last user. I want the new layout. This scenario is BeamNG's own scenario. I don't know how many different types of UI layouts there are. I believe there is a race one, so if you type in the word race, I think it will give you a different one. I'm not sure, but I'm just going to bring back scenario. Menu, I believe that's the menu when you press start, when you press escape during a mission. We can find that out ourselves, actually. So I'm just going to do it like this. Let's press play. Press start. Oh, I've had the game paused. There you go. The timer is now moving. And if I press escape, I don't know if it's changed the menu here or not. But anyway, the 5 seconds is up and it stopped the timer. Now, obviously, we want this to do something. Now I want to say that if the time is up or completed, what would have happened is that's actually a fail state. So I'm just going to say when completed. The difference between complete and completed is complete will give out a constant flow when it's completed. I don't need that because I just need to exit this whole entire state and go into a new state we're going to make. So I'm just going to say when completed, transition out. So I'm just going to say transition. There we go. I can put it up here. When completed, transition. It is not a success. I want to say fail. I could even be more specific and actually say making some new exit states to say, time up or crash. I'm just going to say fail for now. So I'm going to make a new state. So I'm going to go back to my main states. And here inside the the win doesn't need a fail state either. So I'm just going to say delete that. I am going to make a new state. New state. So when you fail, you go into this new state. This state is going to be I'm just going to call it fail, I guess. And make it red because you failed. Boom, fail, save. There you go, fail. Again, and the fail state sounds like an oxymoron. Doesn't have a fail. Can't exit out fail. It exits out as a success. I could rename this to just say reset. Doesn't really matter what I name it here, as long as this connects to where it needs to go. I want this to connect back to restart. Okay, so let's go into and the fail state is going to be quite similar to the win state. So I'm just going to go into the win state, and I'm literally just going to copy everything here. To be honest, I'm just going to copy all that. I'm going to copy the end screen, and the controls reset is quite useful as well. Again, if you want to know anything about what you're seeing here, I did go over all of it in my last game, in my last tutorial. So go into my fail, I'm just going to Control V. And I think this is already set up for me. So when I enter the state, I want to reset the UI. I want the flow to go into there. And this is a failed state. So failed here has to be toggled on. Okay, you have to make sure it's toggled on. And the fail string is going to be... Right now I'm going to make it generic and say you failed. We can make this more intelligent in the future and actually explain why you failed. And the text here is going to be... Okay, and we'll go into points and all that later. And the portrait failed. Well, let's just test it out, shall we? So I think this should work. Let's just double check. Go into gameplay. To be clever, let's do this. I want you to be over here. And let's comment this out properly, so to make it easier. So comment. And you know, I'm going to take this time to mention 2 ways to sort. So the first way to sort something is just to put a comment block over it. You can color it, name it whatever you want. Make sure you move mode is selected to with nodes. I don't know why it's not on by default. So then when I move the comment, I can move everything with it. That's quite nice. There's another way I could do this. I can delete the comment. You can select everything here, right click and say create a subgraph. And I'll call this subgraph timer. Create. Yeah, it doesn't rename for some reason. I have to rename it here. Timer. So this is my custom timer subgraph. And when you go into it here, it's actually created. It looks like a state, but it's not really a state. It is a, well, I guess it kind of is a state. It has an entry node here, which is the inputs. The inputs is the reset and flow nodes. And it just does its thing, and then it doesn't need an output because it automatically transitions out. I don't like this because you'll notice that when your missions get bigger, you'll run out of tab space very quickly. And right now there is no way to group tabs. There is no way to do any of that. So I like to keep my tabs as clean as possible. So I personally don't do this. Also, it has the annoying thing that let's say I wanted to use my timer again. So I Control C. I want to use it, like let's say I had another gameplay mode and it needed its own timer. I could make it into a state, or I could just copy the nodes like this and paste it later. You see that? It's actually created a new instance of it. And I shouldn't say instance because they're completely detached now. So if I go into this subgraph and I say, you know what, I don't want this to have any, I don't know, UI. I don't want any of this, right? Blah, blah. I don't want any of that. But I go to my other subgraph, it's still there. So it just creates busy work because now I got two subgraphs that do the exact same thing. There should be timers, but they're different. So again, I really dislike it. So I'm just gonna delete them. I really don't like doing it like that. I'm just gonna press Control Z a few times actually to undo what I did. There you go. So I don't like using subgraphs, but that is what subgraphs are. I believe that if you could tell subgraphs to be a component or a pattern that don't change across instances, they could be really useful. But right now, they're not useful, and I don't believe they actually help clean up things because the goal is to try and keep as little states here as possible, just because this will completely fill up. And I have seen some people's Flowgraph missions, which you can't read anything here because there's so many, subgraphs and flowgraphs and all that. Okay, so let's test this out. Press play. All I need to do is let the timer go to 5 minutes. So unpause. Just gonna let 5 seconds pass. It's very annoying my cars are wrong around. I'm gonna fix that quickly. There you go. You failed. Disappoint. Very good. You failed big time. Excellent. And the retry should work as well. Retry. Although the timer didn't reset, so let's figure out why that happened. That's why, because in the fail state, I transition out to success. We don't have a success state. Boom. I called it reset. That's one of the reasons why I leave everything named success. It's because it defaults to success. So, but it is reset. So if I save that, press play, it should work. My timer is going down the corner there. Boom. Failed. Retry. It reset properly. Start. Timer's back there at 0. Timing down again. So there you go. Got another complete loop. What I'm going to quickly do is just fix the car's rotation. So that's in the setup scene, I believe. There we go. Much better. Okay, so there we go. Press play again. Make sure my car's in the right position. There you go. It's facing the right way. Okay, so I have the timer going. Obviously, it's too fast because I'm never ever going to get to the success state. So I need to add some time to that. I'm not going to do that right now because I want to talk about another type of failed state, which would be a crash. But before I do that, sorry, I want to do this right to the beginning. So in the setup scene, there's a lot more things we can do to set up our scene to make it more alive and real. One of those is we can actually set the time of day. So set, where is it? Oh, I can set the fog. I could set the wind. There's so many things you can do. And if you want to know exactly everything you can do, what I do is go into environment here in the node library, and I can kind of see everything here. You can get clouds by the individual ID, so there's a lot of stuff you can do. You can set the sky scatter. You can set bullet time. Bullet time is something I should show off because remember, if I go to my gameplay, remember my simple timer, it works on the DT sim, the simulation time. So simulation time means whatever the game time is, that includes if bullet time's on. So if I have bullet time going, the timer is going to be going a lot slower, and I could quickly demo that. I can just say set bullet time here. I forgot if it needs a constant flow or not. I'm just going to say whatever, it does need a constant flow. I'm just going to stick it somewhere in the middle, which I think is still very slow. I'll just put the flow. I don't really need to do anything with the flow, really. So let's press play, and now what's going to happen is the timer should be much slower. So I'm going to say start. There you go. I could tell bullet time's on. Look how slow that's going. And my game is very slow. It's kind of hard to tell, but I am in like slow motion right now. There you go. Still failed. Retry. Oh, and something I should warn you. If you want to do this, remember, you have to reset the bullet time yourself. So if I wanted a game that has a bullet time section, that's fine. But when I reset the game, I could hear the engine. I can tell I was still in bullet time. So if you were to do something like this, just remember that in your reset state, you're going to have to add a section. And I can make the flow pass right through it here to reset the bullet time to 0. That's just something you'd have to do if you are messing with bullet time, okay? Play this game now. There we go. And I'm going to just undo it just because I wanted to reset the bullet time. That's all. I don't need this bullet time right now. I'll keep it because I might use it later. But there's more environmental stuff you can do. So let's go back to the setup scene. What I want to do is I want to set the time of day. I feel like this automatically really helps a lot of BeamNG missions just feel a bit more nicer and premium. You know, don't make them all the same time, you know. It has some time over presets here, so you can set it to midday, evening, midnight, morning. Let's just set it to the morning. You can set it to do play. Play means, as you can imagine, it plays a whole game day. That's I never do that personally, but you could do that. So let's just set it to morning, see how that looks. Okay, that's really early in the morning. I do not like that one bit. So let's undo that. Well, I'm not going to undo it. I'm just going to say, here we go. So it's already giving you a time here. Again, it's a scale of 1 to 0. I'm assuming 0 is 1 o'clock at midnight. The other 0 is, 24 hours after that. So let's just say, I don't know, it was on 75. Let's make it a little bit further in the day. Let's try that one. There you go. That's already a bit better. I'm just going to keep it like that for now. There's a lot of other things you can do. So as I say, you can set the fog, which might actually work for my scenario, because remember, you have like rocks falling on you at the end of a tunnel, so that could be pretty cool. By the way, I'm setting these up in sequence. There's no reason to do it. I prefer to set things up in sequence just because it's kind of nice to know that, on update, do this, then that, then that. It's just kind of nicer. Fog density, I have no idea what looks good. I know that, let's just make it like, I don't know, 3.23. That sounds good. Atmospheric height and all that, I don't know. Let's just play and see. Okay, it's a bit too foggy. I remember that though when playing with fog in BeamNG, that it gets really crazy really quickly. Let's just make it like. But anyway, just to demo to you guys what you can and cannot do. You can set gravity, wind, as I said, all that kind of stuff. It's really cool. So something else I want to show you guys is how you can actually make your missions feel a bit more real and different by adding your own assets or prefabs to the mission. So to do that, I'm actually going to make sure I saved my Flowgraph editor, and then I'm just going to close project. And then just close this window. Okay, and I want to be in the mission editor because I'm actually going to place all my objects in the mission. Now, I off camera, I changed my spawn location back to here because I would like the car to drive down here, but here there can be something to tell them to move as well. So I'm just going to go to Window, Asset Browser. Okay, and here we have all the assets. Something that's really helpful, just go from Saved Filter, go to All Models, and you'll have all the assets here. Now, you can't see the models until you click on them. That's just like it's just like a quirk of BeamNG. It's probably to do, to save you some energy. But I would like a sort of maybe a sign to tell them to move. So I'm going to type first arrows. Is this one to do with arrows? No. Oh, perfect. That's exactly what I want. I want something like this, the race road sign. So what I mean by that is I am going to bring this into the world by just dragging and dropping it on and positioning it the way I want it, like this. And this sign has no physics really applied to it, or I think it has a collision box, but it won't knock over anything. So I can demo that by quickly loading up my flow graph again. I see the sign there. The sign is going to stay there until I close the editor, so don't worry about saving it right now. So it does have collisions. So it collides, but it's not a physics object. I think it's fine for this mission or this use case. So I just demoed that because we can have physics objects in, and I believe this is an asset you can get. And I'll show you how to bring both of those in. So I'm going to keep this as a fixed asset only because I don't want people driving into it. So if they drive into it, that's going to break the car, and I would probably reset the game later when I do crash logic. So, but we can put in an object they are allowed to hit into. So let's say down the road here, I would like maybe some signposts they can hit into. So I'm actually going to exit out of Flowgraph. I'm going to exit out of the editor quickly. Go to kind of where I want it. And I'm literally going to spawn in my physics props the same way you would spawn in any vehicle in BeamNG. I have not found a good way to spawn in physics objects in the editor. I'm sure there's a way. I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to put in... Ooh, you know what? Let's put in... I want to put in something that will break quite spectacularly. So let's say... Oh, you know what? Let's put in the piano. So I'm just going to spawn a new piano where I am. And that's pretty good. A trick I've learned... Actually, I would like this right in the middle of the road. Sorry, I'd like this right in the middle of the road. So I'm going to open up the world editor. First, I got to pause it, sorry. Then open the world editor. And I can actually find the piano. It should be under spawned vehicles. There it is, clone. And a good rule of thumb, if you're going to save this to use in other missions, or using the Flowgraph, give it a kind of unique name. So I'm going to go, piano 1 or whatever, right? Don't know how many pianos I'm going to smash, but let's just call piano 1. This is helpful. This will help you, I promise you. And because I got the game paused, I am allowed to actually move this how I want. Just remember that when I turn the physics back on, it will take a second to reset everything. So what I like to do is when I'm happy with that, close the editor and run the simulation. Press pause again. There you go. Let the piano shake for a bit until it stopped moving. Pause it again. Right. Now I am ready to save this into a prefab. So what I can do is I can hold, I believe it's Control. Yep, Control, and I'll click everything I want to save. Remember, physics objects will be in spawned vehicles. Static things that you bring in will just be dumped, in the Flowgraph here. I'm going to right-click. I've got them both selected. Remember, Control, click on everything you want, and I'm going to say Pack into Prefab. A file dialog opened. It's very easy to miss. I'm going to open the file dialog. And Small Island already has prefabs in it, so it actually loaded up their own prefab folder. This is okay, but it's in levels. I personally like to put mission critical stuff inside the gameplay folder. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not exactly sure what I'm supposed to do, what the correct way is. I personally like to go into gameplay, and that would be a mission, I believe. Go into my small island, go into Flowgraph, and I like it to be inside a named folder. Again, you can kind of stick it anywhere as long as the addresses match up. So I'm just going to call this Toot Prefabs. I don't know if I need to add the word... Oh, that's the folder, sorry. So I'm going to go Toot Prefabs, go into Toot Prefabs, and I'm just going to call this... prefab. You can name whatever you want. I'm just going to say save. I don't think I need to put the .json myself. I'm going to say save. Okay, and they're there. Now they've already saved. You can go into your folder and check it yourself to make sure it's there. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go to here, triple click to select everything in here, or just select all here. Control C to copy. Okay, I'm actually going to delete these prefabs. Okay, don't panic. I saved it. I know it's saved in my folder. Now I want to load it in Flowgraph. So I'm going to open up Flowgraph. And I would like to spawn all my prefabs in the setup scene. It doesn't really matter if I load it before or after the player. Just know, well, actually, I can add that in. So let's go to the node prefab, spawn prefab. Now, I hope it's going to be pretty straightforward, but what you need to do is the path is going to be, oh, look how lovely that is. Go to related files. It found it for me in related files. I actually don't know how it did that. That's really nice, though. Boom. It's in my related files. If you didn't know where it is, though, you could just paste the entire directory that I copied in here. Position, I don't want to set. Name, I don't think it needs its own custom name. Silent, that's a good question. What is silent? Is that a new one? Didn't realize. I've never seen silent before. What does silent do? If you don't know what anything does, you should be able to hover over it. If true, shows no error when the file wasn't found. Oh, that's fun. But I do want an error because I want to know if there's a problem. What I'm going to do, actually first, before I spawn the prefab, I'm just going to quickly I'm going to remove the link quickly just to show you guys that it's not loaded. So I'm going to press play. There we go. I'm in my game. But look at that. I don't see the sign, and I don't see that piano down there. Okay? So it's not working. Now I am going to spawn my prefab in. Okay. Press play. Oh, actually, first thing, I'm going to very quickly give myself a bit more time because I want to smash into that. I want to smash into that piano, and it's not giving me enough time. So let's give myself 20 seconds to smash into it. All right. Let's play. Start, and there we go. The sign's there, the piano's there, and I can smash into the piano. Boom. It is a physics object. Great. Now, but you'll notice there's a problem. Let's play again. Sorry, I should have played the whole game. Sorry. I should let the timer run out. There we go. And I got 20 seconds. I'm going to see if I can actually finish this in 20 seconds. I'm not going to be able to finish it in 20 seconds. That's okay, though. I'll add some more time. It doesn't really matter. So, I'm going to say retry. Okay? Oh, would you look at that? I'm sorry, I paused for some reason. Would you look at that? The sign is still there because it's static, but the piano is still smashed on the ground. But I want to smash into it again. What do? Well, I have to reset it. How do you reset it? I'm hoping you're paying attention, but if not, what I'm going to do is when I spawn the prefab, it has an ID. So I need to pass that ID into my transition out so I can use it at a later date. So I'm going to say add a pin, prefab ID, and that is going to be a number again. And I'm going to connect that to the prefab ID. Original vehicle ID, that is the player vehicle normally. I don't care about that. I don't need to keep that. So let's just keep ID. So I have the ID, and then so I have the ID. When I'm in my reset phase, I'm just going to make sure I bring it in. So go to add pin. Oops, sorry, delete. I don't need to add pin. I just say from template prefab ID. Now under prefab, you'll notice I had spawn prefab. I also had reset prefab. So I think this is pretty straightforward. When I enter the on update state, I would like to reset the prefab, and the ID for that prefab is prefab ID. I don't believe I need to give it a flow. I will just in case, but I don't think I need to, but I'm just going to do it anyway. And let's test it. Start. So there's that piano again. I'm going to smash it. Ah, I missed it. Alright, whatever. I'll just reverse it. I should knock it over before the time's up. There you go. Nice and smashed up. Right. So I'm just going to let the timer run out. Press retry. And look at that. The piano is upright again to its former glory. I have no idea why my game keeps pausing itself though on spawn. I'll figure that one out later. There we go. Alrighty then. Now, you might be thinking, that's all well and good, but that prefab was kind of small. How do I add to it after I've created it? The easiest way I have found, personally, is to do this. So let's say I want to add to that prefab. I could make a brand new prefab, but I don't want to do that. What I want to do is just add to the existing prefab. Now, really, the best way to do this, I think, is I'm going to start the game, okay? Make sure I get to a state where everything's loaded. Everything's already loaded. Now, I'm right here, actually. Just going to press J again to pause. Press start first, then press pause. I am then going to go back into the world editor. The reason I do this is because the game is currently running, but I can still add to the prefabs in this version because look, the prefabs are loaded here, okay? So what I can do, I can right click the prefabs here and I can say unpack them. Unpack prefab. Now the prefab is unpacked, I can add things back into here at my discretion, and then I would right click it and I would just say, pack prefab, which is just here. So that's how I would add more things to it, okay? Again, if you have any feedback or comments or questions or anything you want to learn about, feel free to leave a YouTube comment and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions or make any further videos. Thank you.